Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for Eden Zero Chapter 42. So, yeah, I decided that I'm gonna hash this one out. I decided to hash this one out, hash this one out, and that way I can cross out the list and won't have to worry about it tomorrow. Um, because yeah, even me as even I need a break, and I'm a stone cold reviewer with this stuff. But yeah, with that being said, this chapter was just the tone of this chapter alone. It was much more easygoing, and it was much more easygoing and just kind of nice. Even putting aside all the craziness that happened near the end of this chapter, it was just a really nice chapter. Which is fine because honestly, there are times where I think it's kind of good to have just these breather chapters, especially after we went through that emotional roller coaster that was Prince Hermit's character arc. And I do like how and just to kind of reinforce how much more easygoing this chapter was. I definitely like I definitely like how we got that one scene of seeing it was basically Hermit and it was Hermit and basically of Hermit bickering with pretty much Ivory. So yeah, like I said, a very just nice chapter and sometimes and honestly and again, I already said it, but after just seeing that, after seeing all that, like, what the fuck? After last chapter, I'm willing to take just from a nice and relaxing chapter like this. Honestly, it's just kind of good. It's just a bit of a nice breather up, a nice bit of a breather up chapter for sure. And I'm glad that Majima understood that he didn't try and attempt to throw like anything extremely heavy at us after that. Um, and and with that being said, with that being said, with it being a lot much more relaxing chapter, we pretty much got that pretty much classic Mashima fan service back with Rebecca and Homura in the bath, along with a little bit more characterization on what Prince Valkyrie is like, including a little info dump that she apparently disappeared 5 years ago, and and she didn't just disappear. She literally disappeared into thin air. Apparently, from the way Homura tells it, and with that little bit of info, with her like pretty much vanishing into thin air, that pretty much tells me that pretty much tells me that in terms of my little theory about Valkyrie, that tells me that my little theory about Valkyrie is being closer is a lot is being closer is getting a lot closer to being reality than just a theory. Like if my little if I originally thought that my little theory was around the worm before, like with this little dump now, I'm gonna go ahead and say that my little theory about what happened to Valkyrie is like in the red hot category now. Um, that is, of course, unless Mashima decides to throw us another curveball, in that case you might be able to make the argument that Amira could that Amira is probably Valkyrie, but yeah, for now I'm sticking with my theory that her popping up in the fairy tale is like a fairy tale dragon style. I'm sticking with my theory of her popping up out of nowhere, like in the fairy tale dragon style for sure. Although the biggest questions that still remain are when it's going to happen and why, and what why is still the bigger question, because obviously in order for her in order for her to probably regain her stamina in basically in her own weapon, that would mean something happened to her. But yeah, the question is what what exactly happened to her, and what caused her to in order to vanish, in order to regain her strength to begin with. So yeah, it's a good setup, and I definitely want to know the reasons behind that one for sure. Um, Speaking of Amira, we pretty much get to see her again, where we see her make the declaration that she's going to make another go to infiltrate Draken Joe's organization, as well as that yes, Jesse and her are siblings, so it kind of puts that one to bed finally. But speaking of Jesse, we pretty much get the huge plot reveal that he's infiltrated Elsie Crimson's ranks, and which, yeah, I want to know what that's about. Because based off his inner thoughts, it ain't good. And seeing how Elsie hasn't is was pretty much an ally of Ziggy, and by association, she's pretty much also an ally of Shiki. I think we can. I think it's safe to assume that whatever happens to her isn't gonna fly from Shiki, especially if whatever Jesse, or hell, even just the government in general is planning to do in order to take Elsie down. If that gets back to Eden Zero, it's you definitely know that the from Shiki is gonna go on a fucking rampage if that happens, because he pretty much after their confrontation, he definitely respects Elsie for sure. So he respects Elsie for sure as a comrade and a rival of Ziggy, his pretty much grandfather. So yeah, if anything happens to Elsie, I shudder to think as to what Shiki's gonna do. And so it's an interesting little setup there for pretty much the possibility of the Eden Zero crew more than likely becoming definitive criminals if anything happens to Elsie, because yeah, or possibly just Elsie just kind of going, or it could be possible that Elsie just kind of goes peacefully and doesn't reveal, and everything happens even without Shiki learning anything. But one way or another, I think we can assume that pretty much Shiki is going to learn something about whatever's going to go down with basically Jesse and Elsie's crew for sure. And yeah, I think whatever Shiki does after learning what's going to happen, whatever's going to happen to Elsie, it's going to label the Eden Zero crew as definitive criminals at that point for sure. Now let's talk about Pino's dream for a minute, because I guess you could say that Mashima he definitely threw us a little hint about what her dream was when basically everyone was in the game, but now but now we basically know what Pino's but with the revelation that Pino's dream is that she wants to be human, the first thing that popped in my head is Pinocchio, which yeah, when you basically go by that logic and you look at Pino as well as her dream and even Mother herself, you start to realize that you realize you definitely could make the comparison that if Pino is like Pinocchio, then Mother is kind of like the blue fairy, is like the blue flare. It's like the blue fairy basically from pretty much the story. And I never realized it before, but if I'm making that comparison, it really kind of makes you wonder if Mashima was basically taking, if Mashima and him going with the whole fairy tale theme, like him naming his previous manga Fairy Tale, you gotta wonder if with this series that Mashima is actually taking from basically from fairy tales, like real actual fairy tales with this series, because yeah, that whole thing of Pino wanting to be a real human, and real human, that was a little too on the nose of Pinocchio to me. So yeah, it's where you realize, oh shit, he's taking from the real life fairy tales with this one. And Weiss being the skeptic that he is from this chapter really makes me want her. Really makes me hope that the Eden Zero crew actually succeeds in finding them, finding Mother more and more, because more and more, if for no other reason that just kind of that to just pretty much shut him down, pretty much shut all of his skepticism down. And hopefully, one thing I'm hoping more than anything else is that we're gonna actually start. We're gonna start developing the world more. That basically, or that's pretty much around Mother almost. Like I want to learn more about what Mother's role in the story is going to be from this point on, and but Other than that, the only other thing we get is we see Spider and him reporting back to Drac and Joe, where we see, assumingly, the other members of the 6 demon generals. But at this point, like, I really gotta wonder if Spider is even a high ranking high ranking within this group, or just one of the lower ranking soldiers. Because I have a really hard time imagining him in the same league as basically all of the badasses that we ended up getting like introduced to in this chapter. But either way, it does set up that Draken Joe is going to have the Eden Zero crew on his radar now. And in general, one thing I do like about this chapter is how is between Draken Joe and the cosmic government, or the Galactic Intelligence Agency in this case, how Mashima is building up, how everything that Shiki's done up to this point is starting to attract the attention of some very powerful people, and either way, you definitely know it's gonna cause some problems for sure. But yeah, guys, that's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, AniList, or Crunchyroll. Dead Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.